Hey guys, so we've done the first introductory part of using Illustrator. Now we're going to do something to make a product. So we're going to make a tea light candle holder. These are the walls of it. It's going to be a square one, and we're going to have images cut out so the light filters through, and so it should look pretty cool. I've sent you this file. So you've got these outside shapes. So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to have to move myself over here because we've got layer 1. We need to create a new layer. So now we've got layer 2, you can see there. So things are going to be highlighted as layer 2 in a reddish color, whereas layer 1's blue. So if I go up here to File, and then I'm going to go to Place, and I'm going to place on my images. So I always keep them under Pictures. This can be any image you want, but obviously you want to try to choose things that aren't going to fall out and stuff. So this is the one I like. So I'm going to resize this a little bit, and you can see there the edges of it are red. So that's how you identify that you are in layer 2. So then making it the right size. Alright, and I'm pretty happy with that. So as we know as well, if I move this around, see how I can make it snap so it's in the middle? It had a line coming from the left and a line coming from the bottom. That's how you know it's coming from the, well, it's directly in the middle as the picture is, okay? So as you see, because my picture is not centered, so the nose obviously goes up here, it's going to look a little bit uncentered, but the actual image is perfectly centered. So you don't have to do the same image either. So I'm going to do that one there, and then I'm going to place another image in. Before I do that though, actually I need to make another layer. So it's going to be layer 3, and it's going to be surrounded by green. Okay, so if I go File, and I'm going to go Place again, and I'm going to go down, where is it? There we go. And I'm going to place this one. Okay, and again, see how it's got green around it? I'm going to resize it. I'm going to make it so it fits properly. And see if we can center this up. Alright, there we go, that's centered. Okay, and again you can see that by having the line going down and the line going to the left, and so that's why I kind of had to quickly let go of clicking on it so it snaps straight to it. Okay, so now the next step is, so if I go to layer 2 and I'm working on my bear head over here, so what I want to actually do is, instead of having to trace around every single bit of this, I can go to Image Trace, and I still want it in black and white, so I can go to Black and White Logo. And see how that made it so it's a lot smoother. The color is solid, so that's how I want it to be. Okay, so once I've done that, I want to make it so when I laser cut this out, it follows all the lines really well. So I'm going to have to go Object, and I'm going to go Expand, and I want to be about 255. Okay, that's fine to keep it as that. So there should be 255 separate little points on there. I'm obviously not going to go through and count them all. It'll take me a little while. But yeah, so that's made up of 255 little points now. And I need to do the other thing. I need to do the same thing to my other photos. So up here to Image Trace, down to Black and White Logo. It'll smooth it all out and make the color nice and dark again. Now we're going to go to Object and Expand. And same thing again. So I've got that. So on layer 1, whoops, I forgot to click off it. So on layer 1, I've got my outside edges. They're going to fit together like a puzzle. On layer 2, I've got my bear in red there. And layer 3, I've got my tiger in green. Okay. So just like with the yin yang symbol, you need to make sure we save this properly. So if I go to File, Save As, and you can see I've saved a few of them because I had a bit of a practice first, and it wasn't quite saved properly. I kept accidentally clicking on the wrong thing, so I want it to be that. Mr. Laxton Candle Holder, and we need to make sure I kept accidentally pressing on SVG Compress, so we don't want to press on that. Okay, you got to make sure you're pressing on just normal SVG and going Save. I want to save override that, and then you go OK. It's very important, so when you're saving this, making sure you title it properly, because I don't want to have to cut out, well, I don't want to accidentally cut out too many of one person's. So let's make sure we're naming them properly so I can cut out just the one. And that's actually just about it. If you want different things, so if I wanted that one cut out but this one only rastered in, I'd have to actually click on it and make it a different color. But we showed you that in the other video, so you should know how to do that one. Okay, so now we've made our basic shapes and imported our images for our candle holder. Now we're going to use Laser Web, this program just here, to get them cut out properly. Okay, so you need to add file, and then adding in your file. So I saved it on my USB. And it always does take a little while to come on, because you saw that we converted each one to 255 different points, and so it does take a little while for it to actually load all of those in. Now on LaserWeb you can actually, using your scroll bar on your mouse, you can scroll or in and out as much as you please, kind of thing, making it bigger or smaller. As you can see here, so if I click on that, that highlights the whole lot. So if I want to rotate it by 45 degrees, I can. If I want to scale it, I can. But it's important that you don't do that, because I've actually pre-made these outside shapes. So if I go onto this one, these outside shapes here, I've actually pre-made to make them the right size. So if you start scaling, they're going to be too big and stuff like that. So we want to make sure they leave those alone. We've got one image here and another image there. Now, unlike lots of images that I've put onto the Laser Web, this one's different in the way that it's actually received these files. So you can see on the outside there, it's got a square. Now if I'm not careful, when I laser cut this out, it'll cut out all these inside sections, but it will also cut out this outside square. So to alleviate that, I can hold shift and click on it, and that will actually get rid of it and leave the rest of this. So I've got the rest of it selected, so all I need to do is drag this. Oh, I can't do that, sorry. So what I can actually do is open that up, keep opening it up, and eventually it'll give me all the paths. So you can see all these paths actually, there we go. Actually different little bits of the drawing. If I open this one up, so if I click on that, I can actually hold shift, click on that, and that way, see how it selected all those different paths? So I selected all those paths, so I can click on those and drag them down, and that way it's only going to do the inside image, not the outside image. Which is really, really important, because if it started cutting through the outside of it, obviously the fact that we've made these to fit together like jigsaw pieces is going to be completely pointless, isn't it? So now if I scroll down, you can see it takes a bit more now, because look, all those paths have to come individually over, which actually makes the program run quite slow, as you'll find out. So just like when we always cut ply, we're doing 5 passes, cut rate of 500, and laser power is at 100. Okay, so that's important there. So that's all done, and then we can go to generate. I like to do these individually, but some people would probably do all of them at once. I just like to make sure that they're all going to fit in the, well, they're all going to work basically, and I can see a bit easier. So as you can see with this blue around it, it's really, really hard to see all the detail. Now I'd have to either zoom all the way in to see that properly, or do what I'm doing right now and actually make it generate. So now if I click off of it, you can see there that, oh, alright, so that red line's exactly where it's going to cut, and that's worked perfectly fine. So I'm just going to quickly do the tiger one as well. So if I scroll up, so it's important, I guess it's important that I show you this again, because some people might be struggling. You can click on that to double check you're on the right one, and then just like before, we're opening it up. Might have to open it up a few times so we can actually get at the files that we want. So now that I've opened that all the way up, you can see again that if I click on these, it's just doing small sections. If I click on the very top one here, you can see that it's still got that square around it, so we don't really want that. But that one, obviously we lose a few things. So if I just click on this, so it highlights all of it, and that way I can hold down shift and left click on the outside square again. It'll get rid of that, so it'll get rid of that one, and just highlight the rest of them. And again, I'm going to drag those down, and then it's going to input all of those. So then we're going down to the bottom again, and we have to put it through again. So cut rate of 500, passes we're going to do 6, and power is going to be at 100. Now, one more thing is, because I'm actually having to do this on my laptop because the computer that's hooked up to the laser cutter wouldn't support the software that I record on. I can't actually show you, but you want to have another input that you have to put in here. So you've done the power, you've done the passes, you've done the cut rate, so how fast it moves. The last thing is you actually have to put in is the height that it starts off the bed, and that's really important so that the actual laser doesn't run into the wood or plastic that you're cutting out of. Okay, so what you'd actually have to put there is 12, because generally we only cut 3mm materials, and it's 9mm off the bottom of the table, so that's important to put that in. But yeah, that's all done there. So the last thing we have to do, I like to minimize this afterwards so it's not taking up so much space. Generate. And so the last thing we're actually going to have to do, so we've done both images, that's really good. Last thing we're going to have to do is actually do the outside layer, so layer 1, and do the outside. So I can actually, while that's generating, I can actually drag that down and start working on that. It's a really effective way of doing it. I really like this program because it does this. So, because it does, as you can see, it's generating the G code. So it's generating exactly where the laser is going to go using the computer's algorithms. But now that while it's doing that, and it does take a while, as you can see, I can actually do the next one. So we know the cut rate is going to be 500. We know the passes is going to be 6. And we know the laser power is obviously going to be 100, which is full power. So obviously, if I was doing the other ones that take a little bit longer or stuff like that, it'd be different, but almost there, so 75%. Okay, so now that's done, let's generate the last one, and this one should be a little bit faster, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, so it is going a little bit faster, so that's really good. So now we're going to control, and the last thing we have to set, so I can always make sure that, zoom me out a little bit. Now, what we want to make sure as well, the edges of the table are, we've got a 300 by 600 table. No, 300 by 600 table. So what I actually like to do is, so you can see the 300 mark up there. So that's really accurate. So what we want to do is actually make sure we're not wasting any material. So if I select these by clicking on this top one, and then I can just left click and move, and make sure they're right up the top. And as you might have noticed, I have to press generate again because that's generated down here, not up there. So if I then went to cut them out, it would cut them out down here, and I'd be like, well, hang on, I moved them up there. So you need to make sure you double check that. That's really important as well. Once I've done that though, I'm pretty well good to cut them out. And then what I can actually do is, the easiest way is I could either copy them across and do another one underneath, because we obviously need 4 sides for our outside of our candle holder, and you guys also need to design a bottom for your candle holder as well. So that's what we're going to be doing. So final thing is, so making sure home all, and the home all should be just there on 3, but obviously not connected to the laser cutter, can't show you that. And then it's as simple as pressing run job. But always make sure that your generation's done. So now that that's there and everything's blue, it's all done.